Hello, I'm Hope Logan. I am an actor on Bold and the Beautiful, and many people really love both me and our Bold and the Beautiful drama. So I've come here to share updates about my beloved Bold and the Beautiful. Everyone, please subscribe and support me. If you do, I will keep coming every day with new updates for you. During the week of May 18th to May 22nd, the atmosphere inside Forrester Creations takes a tense and uncertain turn as Dick Christie returns to reprise his role as Charlie Weber, the firm's vigilant head of security. His presence immediately signals that something beneath the surface is about to unfold, something that doesn't belong in the polished world of high fashion and corporate control. Charlie steps back into action with his usual alertness, scanning the building with the instincts of someone who has seen enough to know when something feels off. And this time that instinct may prove right because during the May 18th episode, and continuing into May 19th, an unexpected presence is already inside the building. With Remy Price moving through the halls of Forrester Creations, the tension quietly builds, as if the walls themselves are waiting for the moment everything gets exposed. Charlie begins to sense that someone is there who shouldn't be, and the possibility grows that he may soon sound the alarm, setting off a chain reaction no one is prepared for. Meanwhile, deep inside the design office, another layer of conflict is quietly unfolding as Remy finds himself face to face with Melissa Dillon. The encounter is far from comfortable as Melissa immediately tries to warn him that showing up at Forrester Creations like this is a dangerous mistake that could spiral out of control at any moment. There is an underlying urgency in her tone, not just fear of discovery, but fear of what it could mean for her own fragile position within the company. She is desperate to keep their connection hidden, pushing Remy to leave her alone, especially in a place where the powerful and observant Forresters could easily uncover the truth. Dillon does not want anyone to learn that they are related, and that secret weighs heavily on every word she speaks. At the same time, Electra Forrester has finally reached a point where she is trying to move forward from past heartbreak and rebuild a sense of stability, and Dillon is painfully aware that any exposure now could destroy the fragile second chance at friendship she has managed to create. So even as Remy lingers and tension rises between them, Dillon continues to push him away, determined to protect the life she has carefully rebuilt within the walls of Forrester Creations. But despite all of Dillon's efforts to distance herself from Remy, the situation begins to slip beyond her control as he drifts dangerously close to Charlie's watchful radar. The security head's instincts sharpen, and what started as a quiet concern may soon turn into a full-scale confrontation if Remy is identified as an unauthorized presence inside the building. At the same time, Electra Forrester is about to face a revelation that could shake her sense of trust and understanding, though it is still too early for the truth of Remy and Dillon's hidden cousin relationship to surface. The show continues to stretch the tension, carefully delaying that revelation as the drama between them intensifies. Electra herself has no idea that Remy is still in Los Angeles, let alone that he has been secretly visiting the very place where she works. That hidden presence becomes the foundation for a future shock that could completely change how she sees everything unfolding around her. And if she discovers that Remy has been speaking with Dillon behind the scenes, confusion and suspicion may begin to take hold, forcing her to question what kind of connection is really forming between them. As events continue to build, Electra may find herself standing at the center of an emotional storm she never saw coming, especially if she learns about the ongoing interactions between Remy and Dillon. In that moment, Dillon might be forced into a difficult position, possibly having to present Remy as nothing more than a stranger who has been bothering her, rather than revealing the complicated truth of their hidden family bond. That version of events could quickly shift Electra's perception, making her protective instincts rise as she worries that Remy's behavior might cross into something more troubling or even obsessive. Depending on how everything unfolds, it may begin to look like Remy has developed a growing fixation on Dylan, intensifying the emotional stakes even further. Yet beneath all the misunderstandings and escalating tension, the truth about their cousin relationship is destined to come out eventually. For now, however, the story holds that revelation just out of reach, allowing the drama to deepen and the emotional pressure to build as Forrester Creations moves toward a confrontation that no one inside its walls is truly ready to face. As the tension inside Forrester Creations continues to thicken, every hallway begins to feel like it's closing in, as if the building itself is tightening its grip around the unfolding secret. Remy's presence, still unconfirmed but deeply suspected, turns the once controlled environment into a place of silent unease where every footstep carries weight. Charlie's instincts sharpen even further as he moves through the building with quiet authority, his attention shifting towards subtle disturbances that others might easily overlook. A misplaced movement, an unfamiliar presence near restricted areas, or even the faint sense that someone is lingering where they shouldn't be, all of it starts to form a pattern in his mind. The longer Remy remains undetected, the more inevitable it feels that the alarm is going to be triggered, not just as a warning, but as a full exposure of everything being kept hidden. And in a place like Forrester Creations, exposure never comes quietly. It always arrives like a storm that changes everything in an instant. At the same time, the fragile confrontation between Remy and Dylan continues to simmer beneath the surface, carrying an emotional intensity that neither of them can fully escape. Dylan is trapped between fear and loyalty, knowing that every second Remy stays inside the building increases the risk of everything collapsing around her. Her urgency becomes more desperate, her words sharper, as she tries once again to convince him that leaving is the only option before things spiral beyond repair. But Remy's presence feels stubborn, as though he is driven by something deeper than caution, something tied to unresolved emotions and unanswered questions that still bind him to this world. Their interaction becomes less like a conversation and more like a quiet emotional standoff, where neither side is fully willing to surrender control of the situation. And beneath that tension lies the unspoken truth that, if discovered, their hidden connection could shatter not only Dylan's carefully rebuilt peace, but also Electra's fragile trust in everyone around her. Elsewhere in the building, Electra continues to move forward in ignorance of the storm gathering just beyond her awareness, trying to hold on to the calm she has recently reclaimed. Yet that calm feels increasingly fragile, as if it could fracture at the slightest disturbance. The possibility that Remy is not only in Los Angeles but actively present near her workplace begins to loom like a shadow that she does not yet recognize. And if she begins to piece together the idea that he has been speaking with Dylan, suspicion could quietly take root, twisting uncertainty into emotional doubt. Dylan, already under pressure from Remy's presence and Charlie's growing vigilance, may find herself forced into a position where truth is too dangerous to reveal and lies become a temporary shield. In that delicate balancing act, every word she speaks carries the potential to either protect her world or collapse it entirely. And as all these threads tighten, Charlie edges closer than ever to the truth, his instincts aligning with the unseen chaos building inside Forrester Creations. The sense that someone unauthorized is inside the building becomes impossible for him to ignore, pushing him toward a decision that could change everything in an instant. One announcement, one alarm, one confirmed sighting of Remy could transform suspicion into full exposure, dragging every hidden secret into the light. In that moment, alliances would be tested, relationships would fracture, and Electra's world would be forced into a reality she never expected. The stage is now fully set for a confrontation that feels less like a possibility and more like an approaching inevitability, where every hidden connection is on the verge of being dragged into the open, under the harsh spotlight of truth. As the pressure inside Forrester Creations intensifies, the atmosphere begins to shift from quiet suspicion into something far more urgent and unstable. Charlie's presence becomes increasingly commanding as he moves through the building with renewed focus, every instinct telling him that the situation is no longer just a minor security concern. The sense of an unauthorized presence grows stronger with each passing moment, as though the building itself is subtly revealing clues that cannot be ignored. What once felt like a vague disturbance now feels like a direct breach waiting to be exposed. And in Charlie's world, when something feels this wrong, it rarely stays hidden for long. The question is no longer if something will happen, but when everything will finally break open. Meanwhile, Remy remains dangerously close to exposure, still navigating the tight, nerve-wracking spaces of the design office and surrounding corridors. His every movement now carries the weight of risk, as if even the smallest mistake could trigger the chain reaction he has been trying to avoid. Dylan continues to struggle beside him, her patience thinning under the pressure of knowing that Charlie could appear at any moment. Her fear is no longer just about being discovered with Remy, but about what his presence could unleash if the truth about their connection begins to surface at the wrong time. The emotional strain between them grows heavier, turning their interactions into tense, clipped exchanges filled with urgency and unspoken warnings. Remy's refusal to fully withdraw adds another layer of danger, as though he is standing at the edge of a collapse but still choosing to linger just long enough to be caught. At the same time, Electra moves through her day unaware that she is slowly approaching the center of a truth that has been kept just out of reach. The idea that Remy is not only in Los Angeles but physically present within her professional world remains completely unknown to her, making her vulnerability all the more dramatic. Yet small cracks begin to form in the stability she believes she has regained, especially as indirect signs and subtle inconsistencies begin to gather in the background. If she were to learn that Remy has been speaking with Dylan, that discovery alone could shift her entire emotional foundation. Trust, once carefully rebuilt, would begin to fracture under the weight of unanswered questions and hidden motives. And in that emotional uncertainty, Electra could start to view Remy not as a distant figure from her past, but as a present and growing threat to her sense of security. As all these threads converge, Charlie finally reaches the edge of confirmation, where instinct and evidence begin to align into something undeniable. The possibility of an intruder becomes too strong to ignore, and the moment of confrontation feels closer than ever, hanging in the air like a storm ready to break. One decision from Charlie could bring the entire situation crashing into the open, exposing Remy, forcing Dylan into impossible explanations, and shattering Electra's current sense of calm in a single instant. The emotional stakes rise to their highest point yet, with every character unknowingly standing on the edge of a revelation that could permanently alter their relationships. And as Forrester Creations continues to hum with polished perfection on the surface, beneath it all, a volatile truth is seconds away from erupting into full view. As the situation tightens even further inside Forrester Creations, the tension reaches a point where even silence feels unstable, like it could crack under pressure at any second. Charlie's focus sharpens into full alert mode as he closes in on what he believes is no longer just a suspicion, but a confirmed breach of security. Every corridor he passes now feels loaded with meaning, every corner holding the possibility of discovery. The building's usual rhythm of order and precision begins to feel disrupted by an invisible presence that refuses to be ignored. And as Charlie moves closer to that truth, the sense of inevitability grows stronger, as if the confrontation has already been decided. It is only waiting for the moment to happen. At the same time, Remy's position inside the building becomes more precarious with every passing second, as though the walls themselves are narrowing around him. His decision to stay, despite Dylan's repeated warnings, now carries consequences that are rapidly catching up to him. Dylan's anxiety intensifies as she tries to maintain control of a situation that is slipping further out of her hands. Her fear no longer just about exposure, but about total emotional collapse if everything comes to light at once. The hidden truth of their cousin connection looms silently between them, unspoken but heavily present, shaping every word and every hesitation. Their interaction becomes more fractured, more urgent, as if both of them can feel the approaching moment when there will be no more room to hide anything. And in that fragile space between secrecy and exposure, even trust begins to feel like a dangerous gamble. Elsewhere, Electra remains suspended in a state of unaware calm, unknowingly standing at the center of a storm that is about to reach her directly. The world she has carefully rebuilt for herself feels intact on the surface, yet beneath it lies a growing instability she has not yet recognized. The possibility of Remy's presence at Forrester Creations continues to drift closer to reality, even though she has no idea how near the truth already is. If she learns not only that he is in Los Angeles, but that he has been in contact with Dylan, the emotional impact could be immediate and disorienting. It would force her to reconsider everything she believes about the people around her and the intentions behind their actions. In that moment, confusion could quickly evolve into suspicion, and suspicion into a deeper emotional fracture that changes her relationships permanently. As all paths begin to converge, Charlie finally steps into position where discovery feels inevitable, the last barrier between hidden truth and full exposure thinning to almost nothing. One moment of recognition, one confirmation of an unauthorized presence, is all it would take to ignite the situation completely. If that happens, Remy's concealment will collapse instantly, dragging Dylan into a corner where she must choose between truth and survival in the moment. And Electra, when drawn into the aftermath, would be forced to face a reality she never expected, one where trust, identity, and hidden connections collide in a single emotional explosion. The air inside Forrester Creations becomes almost suffocating with anticipation, as if the entire building is holding its breath. And just beyond that breathless silence, the final breaking point is already in motion, ready to turn hidden secrets into undeniable truth.